Good evening. Welcome to Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com, where we believe that the mind must be fed. And just to remind you out there that we are an iHeart radio station, so you can download the app. I am your host, Angela Champy, and here in the studio on this evening, I have a special guest. His name is Bart Beals, and just to give you a little background about Mr. Beals, he is a criminal defense attorney with a decade of criminal defense experience and a decade and a half of experiencing practicing law. He has exclusively practiced criminal defense for the past 9 years. And just so you know, he is a native of the south side of Chicago. He grew up, as we all know, in somewhat of an impoverished community where oftentimes innocent people were convicted and arrested for things that they had not done and detained by police. And of course, we know that that is a very big issue in today's place. So, Mr. Beals, I want to say thank you for being on the show on this evening. And we can just jump right on in. Are you ready?
Sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So just give us a little bit more history about you, where your practice is located, and I know you do criminal defense, but is there an area of a specialty that you practice in, and talk about that? Let's get started.
Well, my office is downtown over at 150 North Michigan. It's on Randolph, Michigan Avenue. It's that plain looking building. You see the skyline of the city. It looks like a diamond cut. It's kind of like the building was cut off, and it's cut off in the shape of a diamond. That's the building where my office is located. I practice in state and federal court. A good portion of my practice is in Cook County, but I go as far west as Kansas, as far south as Kankakee. I've even handled a couple of cases as far south as Champaign. But I'm primarily in Cook County. I do some Will County as well as Kankakee, a little bit and so forth. And at about 25 to 30% of the practice is federal practice. So I primarily do most criminal type cases, misdemeanor cases, DUIs, as well as major felonies, class X cases, from someone accused of murder all the way down to low-level felony cases like a gun possession or simple drug possession type case. And I handle cases in federal court that run the range as well. Primarily federal. I'm in politics. Actually, I can't do it. This federal cases, but one of these days.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, share with the people here on Side Streets and Intersections, here on IntellectualRadio.com, and all those that are listening and viewing the show on this evening, what made you become a lawyer? Because that's a lot of times that's the big question. Why and why criminal?
Well, what made me become a lawyer is I was actually arrested. In between graduating from college and going to law school, I worked several jobs. I worked in sales, and I worked as a community organizer. And prior to becoming a community organizer, this was years ago, kind of giving away my age, long ago. This was long enough ago where they actually had paper checks for you to get a paycheck, as opposed to they had direct deposit. They had paycheck. I don't know, to be honest. But in any case, this was years ago. I worked on the north side, lived on the south side, worked on the north side. I didn't have a car at the time, so I was going into work. It's my day off. I was going to work to looking for a paycheck. I got on the train station, 69th Street, the L station on 69, which is now red. And I got on there, and it was around 2:30, 3 o'clock. Exactly, but it was around the time when high school kids were getting out of school. There was a long line to get on the train, and this line was for people who were paying for. This is before the venture cards. So this is why. Old paper transfers. And so I had a monthly bus pass. And so because it was a long line, I saw the train coming. I didn't want to have to wait for the next train. So I stepped over the turnstile, I took my monthly bus pass, and I showed the ticket taker, the CTA personnel there. And I looked him in the eye, like I'm looking you in the eye. And I showed it to him. He looked at me, he looked at my transfer. Like, okay, I'm cleared, okay. So I started walking towards the train, and this is 69th Street. And so, this is over on 69th Street, which is predominantly African American neighborhood. As a matter of fact, it's more predominantly African American back then than it is now. And so you have this big white guy and a smaller white woman, grab me. So I assumed that it had to be police, but they were in plain clothes. They didn't have badges on. They weren't wearing a badge. Sometimes you see chain around the chest. But I assumed they were police because what else would it be? I mean, somebody's not going to have two white folks robbing a black guy on the 6th Street L platform when all these people. So, my reaction was, okay, they must assume that I jumped the turnstile and I'm trying to steal a ride. I had a bus pass, so there's no way legally I could not steal a ride. I mean, I had it was a monthly bus pass. I had a right to be on that train, to ride back and forth on that train the rest of the evening for the rest of the month. Long story short, they wound up arresting me. And I was kind of, before then, I just assumed people don't get arrested for stuff unless they did something wrong. The police aren't going to arrest you if you didn't do anything wrong. They're going to be reasonable about it. So when the officer grabbed me, my first reaction was, hey, what's the problem? And he said something smart to me, and then I said something smart back. And then he basically was like, hey, shut up or else I'll rip you out the road out. Now, obviously, he wasn't serious about the road out, but I was younger and I was a little more hot-headed back then. And my first reaction was, oh man, I could roll you off this black line. If you really want to go there. But like I said, I knew he was a cop, and it would have been a foolish thing, and I would have been in jail for you. And so it was a good thing I did. It was silly. And going back and forth, he threatened to put me in jail. Say, hey, you shut up or you go to jail. I'm like, go to jail for what? I'm about to bust. He's like, that's it, you're going to jail. So then he took my wallet, solved the bus. I was like, see, I got a monthly bus. He said, well, you're supposed to show us your ticket. He said, I did. All you got to do is ask him. He saw it. I showed it. Didn't matter. They took me to jail. Now, when you don't have a criminal record and you're taken to the police, they have to make sure that the information you gave them is true. There's a lot of people who do have records around my warrant. Sometimes they'll lie and say, okay, I'm something else, so that they won't see the warrant. Unfortunately, when you don't have a record, a lot of times you're going to spend the night in the police station. Even if it's mine, it was a misdemeanor that they were charging me. And I ended up spending the night in jail because they wanted to make sure I was who I said I was, and they weren't warrant conditions. So I just spent the night in jail. It was something that eventually got thrown out, but I spent the night in jail, and I was charged with something I couldn't possibly have done. After I got out of jail, I was really upset. So I went to Rainbow First, and I talked to some lawyers, suing the police, fighting, good fight. And basically what I received was sort of like, trust your shoulders like, hey, what's the problem? No big deal, you're out, right? Don't worry about it. So after that, I decided I wasn't going to law school. And I also decided when I became a lawyer that I was going to volunteer. And this was back when they had pretty good equipment. And so after I went to Howard Law, I graduated and I practiced in DC. And I came back to Chicago, and I was working in a large firm here in Chicago, and they were okay with me doing some pro bono hours. So every Monday I used to go to Rainbow Push, pro bono legal clinic. And a couple of years after I was working here in Chicago, a young woman came in, and she had the same thing happen to her. She was arrested for something she could not possibly have done. She was arrested for trespassing on a property where she was renting. It was a HUD property. And she was spending the night in jail because she didn't have a record. She was very upset. She was very scared. And so I asked for permission from the firm to represent her in court. And I got the case dismissed. And what I really enjoyed doing criminal defense type work was prior to that, I had done some government relations, some lobbying, a lot of civil litigation. But I had never helped a little bit. And so I did that. I enjoyed it. So
Wow, that is amazing. So see how dynamic this show, Side Streets and Intersections, is here on IntellectualRadio.com. I always say that we oftentimes miss the opportunity to meet wonderful people because we refuse to open our mouth. And it's just interesting that I too was arrested for fighting with my sister. And I wound up spending a night down at Harrison and Kedzie. And it was, well, I was let go and with a certain amount of instructions that I was supposed to keep my distance away from her for a period, I think not to exceed 30, 45 days, whatever it was. And so that happened, back in 1997, I want to say. Yeah. And so the one thing that we do share is our love for social justice, being an advocate for that, because I'm a big proponent that someone has to be the voice for those who are silent. And I believe that so often we rely on and other people to represent and speak on our behalf. But I've come to learn in these 40 plus years that I think I can speak better for myself than anyone else. So getting back to you as our special guest here at Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. And let me just interject this, that if you are looking for an opportunity to host your own show, please do not hesitate to call 708-223-8953 to explore that opportunity. So back at the subject at hand, and is entitled African Americans in the Judicial System, What We Don't Know. So can you expound on some of the things that we think we know, but we don't know?
well, there's a lot that we think we know that we don't know. And it's only because this is something I do almost every day. So, and I learned, it's like, just recently I had a client who was charged with violation of bail. That's an actual law. So if you were on a case, it's a misdemeanor or a felony case, and bond is set at a certain amount of money, or even if you were given a bond and you don't come to court, and it's not that uncommon. There have been times I've had clients that have forgotten their court date. They may have thought the court date was on the 16th, but it was on the 15th. They show up on the 16th. They look in and say, hey, well, okay, I'm looking for my, going to court, my name's not on the list. Oh, well, it ain't on the list because you were supposed to be here yesterday. Oh, there's a warrant. The person will get scared and they'll leave. And they're not sure what to do. They hear a warrant and they're locked up. And like a lot of people, because they're frightened, they don't know what to do. They're scared of going to jail. So they kind of push it off. Instead of handling it the next day, it comes the next week, it's 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks, next year it'll go 30 days. Once you go past 30 days, that's the bond forfeiture. It's a judgment. Meaning that's when they keep the money. Once they keep the money, technically speaking, and it goes past that 30 days, you could be charged with violation of bail, which could be, if it's a felony case, let's say it's a class 3 felony, it's the next level case. So it's a class 4 felony. Class 4 felony, it's a misdemeanor. If it's a class X, it's a class 1. So you can be charged with the whole, in addition to the case that you're fighting, you can be charged with the whole case. practicing exclusively criminal defense since 2006. So it's been about 10 years. In that 10 years, I've never seen anybody recently that was actually charged with that. It's usually what happens is there's a warrant person and they'll just go forward with the case. Now, if it's been a long time, they've been going the judge probably hold them without bond, but they'll go forward with the case. But it is a possibility that you can be charged with holding the case.
So that's interesting because I believe that, information is so powerful, and, each day we exist, that's an opportunity to get something right and perhaps to be able to plant seeds, particularly with people of color. And so getting back to your bio, it says that, so you graduated from law school in 2000, but you also served as the review editor for the Law Journal, or on the Law Journal. And then also, after starting your own practice, you became a member of the CJA panel.
Right.
Okay.
When I was at Howard Law, I was on the law review. That's the law journal. After you join the law review after when you're in your second year, because law school is 3 years. When you're in your second year, you're going off you're kind of like, tell you you have an opportunity to run for office. Following year. So my third year, I served as the book review editor. So there are different types of articles that are sent and submitted to be published in the law journal. One of the articles are book reviews. Someone writes a review of a type of book, usually something that involves law, and they can send it into the law journal to be published. It's my job to review it, to edit it, to make sure that the citation is correct, determine if it's something that we wanted to publish or not. That was part of the job as a book review editor for the law journal. Now, with the CJA panel, that's the CJA stands for Criminal Justice Act. That's a federal act. Under the Criminal Justice Act, effectively what it says is, if you can't afford it, the government is required to provide you with a lawyer and provide you with reasonable resources to defend yourself. Prior to, I'm not sure how long, it's been years in terms of the case. But prior to years ago, you had a lot of people who were convicted of crimes primarily because they couldn't afford legal defense. Even today, you still have it to some degree. But that's a long story, so I don't want to get too much into that. But the bottom line is, under the Criminal Justice Act, the federal system, you have a panel of attorneys. There's a federal defender program, which is sort of like a public defender. But there are a lot of times those guys are conflicted out of cases. You have more than one defendant on the same case. The federal defender can represent one person, but they can't represent all of them because it's a conflict. So what they'll do is they have a panel of private lawyers, and you're approved to be on that panel. And there are times when they don't need you, they'll appoint you on cases. So like I'll get appointed on federal cases.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You said that an individual can be convicted simply because they cannot afford paid legal representation. And I believe that that's an all too common occurrence, even in current day.
Yes, and I'll explain that. With the law, like most things, when you start talking about having a trial, you're going to have in front of you a judge or a jury. So 12 lay people or a judge. It's either one person or 12, but it's still in front of an individual or a fellow human being. Well, you have effectively, in the law, we give you all these grand legal terms, stuff like that. When it comes down to it, it's this is the prosecution has one story, and the defense we have another story. And so that's what you have. And so the story, the side that is able to present their story the best tends to have an advantage over the side that can't present their story or doesn't present their story as well. The more resources you have with your defense, the better you're able to present that story. And I'm going to give you an example. As a defense attorney, one of the things that you see quite often in prosecution, you'll see people who say, well, this person's accused of robbing someone. And they'll say the victim picked this person out of the lineup. Now, prior to working as criminal defense attorney, I had no idea the science behind how inaccurate eyewitness IDs are, particularly under certain circumstances. I mean, just to think about it, if someone robs you, usually that's very stressful, especially if they have a weapon. If you've never seen this person, so to see this person all of a couple seconds, right? Or 5 seconds, 10 seconds, even 30 seconds. To see them for a few seconds under very stressful conditions, and then to be able to say, okay, well, pick this person from the lineup. It's quite easy to pick the wrong person and to get it wrong. But jurors and lay people would say, hey, well, the victim said that's the person, and they're sure of it. Well, how many times have any of us ever been wrong? How many times has someone approached you and say, hey, Mary, how you doing? Where you been? Mary? I'm not Mary. My name is Andrew. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, but just like I could have sworn you were there. Or, that's happened to many of us quite often. And so that happens also in the criminal justice system. And so someone who doesn't have the money to go get an expert to come in and say, well, that eyewitness testimony isn't as accurate as you think, and particularly under these circumstances, the jurors will never know that.
So let me ask you this. You talked about individuals not being able to afford proper representation, because there's representation, but you want the best representation out there. So let me ask you this. I often hear in my line of work, oh, I'm going to trial, or I'm going to go trial by jury. And I often cringe when I hear that, because just from my own research, I've come to learn that, yeah, when you go to a trial, it's you against the administrators of the court. And that encompasses the bailiff, the stenographer. They're all officers of the court. And since we know that everything is about jurisdiction, can you expound on why is it necessary to walk through a swinging gate as opposed to stay outside the gate and fight your case? Because there's things about jurisdiction that they want you inside the little swinging gate as opposed to, can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I know jurisdiction, there's a lot of people who talk about jurisdiction. What does the court have jurisdiction in certain cases? Sometimes the court doesn't. That's, quite frankly, that's rare. We start talking about state cases. Well, let me back up. A lot of criminal cases, actually, it's something that could be, it could be charged on the state level and on the federal level. Now, that's a jurisdictional issue only depending on if the person was charged already at the state level and then they want to try to charge at the federal level. If it goes forward at the state level, then there's no point in going for the federal level. But the majority of the jurisdiction comes from where it happens. So now I know I've had clients or individuals who talk about, well, the court doesn't have jurisdiction over me because maybe they belong to a certain religion or something like that. Look, when it comes down to this, if something happens in Illinois, if it happens in a certain county, that county has jurisdiction to prosecute the case. Now, there are times when there are rare circumstances when the county wouldn't have jurisdiction, i.e. if a person has diplomatic immunity to that effect.
What is that? What exactly is that? Because we hear that term.
Right. Now, diplomatic community is if an individual, if you are a citizen of another country, and you, it's not just you're a citizen of the country, you're a citizen of the country, you're part of the diplomatic corps, meaning the United States has a treaty with the country that you're a citizen of. And this country says, hey, I'm going to send some diplomats to your country. And these diplomats will enjoy, we designate them as having diplomatic immunity. Now, that's something like, it's sort of like an agreement between a foreign country and the U.S. Even with that, though, that's not absolute. There was years ago, there was I think it was Japan. I think there were some diplomats, I think it was from Japan. And they got into, it was a reckless homicide because they were drinking too much and ended up getting into an accident and killed an individual. I think it was more than one individual that was a diplomat from Japan. It wasn't like the actual Japanese ambassador. But I think it was Japan. I could be wrong, but I thought it was Japan. But in any case, these individuals enjoyed diplomatic immunity. Well, the ambassador from Japan and the hierarchy in Japan heard about it. It was like, you know what? You shouldn't have been drinking, and you shouldn't have been driving, and you shouldn't have done what you did. So guess what? We're rescinding their diplomatic immunity. Go ahead and prosecute us. And that's what happened. So you have that scenario. That's where jurisdiction wouldn't necessarily come into play. There are also situations where it might not come into play, depending on, like I said, if something happened. Let's say if you broke the law, let's say in a federal building. In that case, it might be federal jurisdiction as opposed to state jurisdiction. If you were arrested, let's say in Indiana, but the actual act occurred in Illinois, you may have just occurred across the street. Well, honestly speaking, all Indiana can do if they arrest you is extradite you in Illinois. They can't prosecute you in Indiana because it didn't happen in Indiana.
Wow. Well, my ears are ringing, and if you have any questions out there, as I'm sure a lot of you do with respect to uh, the legal system, please do not hesitate to call 708-223-8953. We are going to go to a music break. I am Angela Champ for Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. See you soon. I get no time. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I get no time. No time. When we first met, our love was strong, and if this love was our song, I gave you 2 kids, we had all the things, and most people always dreamed of. The years have gone past, kids grow up fast, you take for granted I will always be there. House is no home since you've been gone, when we talk I am always wrong. And now I get no time, I get no smile. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I am Angela Champ, your host for Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. And if you are feeling hungry, it's because you want to be fed. And if you are looking for an opportunity to explore hosting your own show, please do not hesitate to call 708-223-8953. And here in the studio with me on this evening is the noted attorney Bart Beals, and we are just talking about various issues as it pertains to the legal system, and we want to talk about some current event, and that's with the currently new superintendent that has been instilled, if that's the word, or
I think it's an interim.
yeah, interim. Okay. Superintendent for the Chicago Police Department. Of course, we know that they have come under insurmountable fire for their practices of how they treat African Americans, but that should be no surprise because we deal with it every day. So, my question to you is, do you believe, so this is a two-part question, that Mr. Johnson will be able to effect change? And if so, what limitations may he face because of the political correctness in order to keep his job?
Well, I'll answer them out of order. I'll start with the what obstacles we face.
Okay.
The obstacles that the the interim superintendent, Mr. Johnson, face is a very deeply entrenched culture. Now, politically speaking, when I was a community organizer, I was taught that power comes from organized people and organized money. The Fraternal Order Police is very well organized, and they have an agenda, which they should. They're about protecting their members, which they should. They're supposed to do that. They're a union. They're supposed to look out for their members. They're supposed to look out for the job security of their members. They're supposed to make their jobs to be as easy as possible, as comfortable as possible, and as secure as possible. They're doing what they're supposed to do. As the African American community, we need to do what we're supposed to do. All too often, the culture that has gone on with Chicago police, it's not just Chicago police, it's with police officers across the country, has been this culture of, hey, just do as I say and don't worry about what I do. And I've actually written a blog about this about a year or two ago. And talked about, the culture of silence, neglect, and, mistrust that's gone on. And a big reason for that is because there are not enough systems in place to promote accountability. Now, anytime someone talks about police accountability, they are automatically branded, because of the culture, as being anti-police, as choosing crooks over cops, as not being accountable or wanting to be accountable. And that simply isn't true. What I'm saying is not to disparage or to wave a broad brush across all police officers, or even most. I have family members that are police officers. I have frat brothers who are police officers. I've met on more than one occasion good, honest, decent police officers, individuals that are doing their job professionally. But the truth of the matter is, the culture of cover-up. Someone, a police officer, they do something wrong, that wall of blue says, hey, that's covered up. Now, if the wall of blue took care of their business, if you see a cop that is beating somebody up unnecessarily, or like with the Laquan McDonald situation, the most terrible thing about the situation is, we don't talk about it a whole lot, is the mayor went ahead and pushed that approval of the settlement through the city council. Only one alderman, to my knowledge, even asked me to watch the video. It was Alderman Brookins, I'm saying. It's only one. But that's not the worst part. The worst part about it was, if the mayor would have said, okay, you know what, this family suffered a loss, let's show them some respect, let's approve this settlement. But you know what? The officer that shot Laquan McDonald, he has to go. He is to be fired. He is to be fully investigated. I'll let the state's attorney decide if she's going to press charges or not, but he has to go. All the officers that turned in false police reports to cover up what appears to be a murder, you have to go too. Y'all all have to get on the same meat wagon, because you broke the law. If I'm with somebody on the street and they murder someone or they commit a crime, and I do something to try to help them cover that crime up, I'm going to be charged under the accountability statute. None of these guys were. Not only were they not charged, The mayor tried to let the status quo stay as it was. He tried to protect the status quo. And that's what the current superintendent has to deal with. The status quo is a very formidable situation. So to answer your first question, will he be able to? I don't know Mr. Johnson. I've never met him. I'm sure he's a decent person. I'm sure he's a good police officer. But I doubt very seriously he will. Because in order to break up an old system, you have to put a new system in to break it up and to promote accountability. How many police forces out there have body cams? Here we are in the city of Chicago, third largest city in the country. One of the crown jewels of the country as far as city goes. One of the most beautiful cities, but one of the most beautiful cities to the summer you'll ever go to. And yet we don't have body cams for our officers. I mean, they're starting to do it now. It's a pilot program. This stuff should have been done years ago. You know, why don't we have other, like IPRA? We saw what the situation with IPRA, where allegations. I mean, there was an article from 2015, 2014, where one of the investigators, he accused IPRA of firing him because he wouldn't change his investigator, he wouldn't change his results. He wouldn't say that the complaint was not founded. He said it was founded. So he got fired. He was labeled as anti-cop. And this guy was a former police officer. So we've seen what IPRA has done. And so to say, well, we're going to keep IPRA the way it is, I know that there's a new director, but that director still serves at the pleasure of the mayor. And we've seen what, when no one was looking, we saw what the mayor's priorities are as far as protecting the status quo. So no, I don't think that it's likely to have any substantive change. I think we'll get a lot of circus acts. We'll get some shiny new options to take a look at. We'll get some good Academy Award trails of contrition, but it's going to still be all about protecting the status quo.
It's funny that you said about the Circus Act, because I have a saying. I say that the circus is here. We just wait on the clowns to show up. So I guess we will stay tuned for that. As we know that Chicago is notorious for its gangster mob tactics within these systems that have been designed to protect the people.
Or in this case, protect the status quo.
Absolutely, protect the status quo. Absolutely.
And it's sad too. That's one thing I just want to add. It's sad because there are a lot of really good cops out there. There are a lot of good cops who want to do good police work and do a good job of investigating and preventing crimes. And as long as you have a police force that treats a large part of the city with contempt and neglect, then you're cutting off avenues of doing good police work. And I'm no social scientist, no expert on this, but I do believe that leads to some of the violence that's going on now in the city. Because if the community can't trust the police to help to address the criminal element, who are they to trust? They're going to take things in their own hands, and you have maybe someone who may have been willing to say, okay, someone did me wrong, I'm going to go to the cops, let the justice system handle it. Now they might be like, skip that, I got a gun, I'm going to handle it myself. I'm not going to get justice from this.
This is amazing. It's amazing how much you think you know. And I consider myself to be somewhat a well-read individual, but it's amazing that there's a lot that I still don't know. And for me, acquiring knowledge every day is so powerful. Information is so powerful. And so let's turn to trying to understand some terms that I've heard. And those terms, SOL, sound like you out of luck on that one.
It's just the opposite. You're actually in luck if you're a defendant.
And Nolly, Proce, can you expound on that? And
well, both of them are pretty much dismissals.
Okay.
Both of them are dismissals. The main issue is when it's Nolly process, usually that's it. In most 99% cases, that's it. stricken off leave basically means they're dismissing it for the moment. It's usually a permanent dismissal. A stricken off leave, usually you have about 30 to 40 days at most. If the state decides they were going to reinstitute the charges, they're going to reinstate the charges. They can. And it has happened. I've seen it. Primarily, it happens more so in misdemeanor cases than felony cases. It's rare that you're going to see that in felony cases. But it does happen sometimes.
And so how long does that, so a person gets arrested, misdemeanor crime, petty theft, whatever, and they're let go, and they say, oh, the judge let me go, but in fact, that information still remains open. Am I not correct, for a period of years before they can have that expunged, or how does that work?
Well, now the expungement process is
Okay.
a person, if you get something stricken off leave, and let's say it's more than 30 days, the state that they don't try to reinstate the charges. That's pretty much it. Okay, so now, if you don't have, if that's the only case that you have, if you haven't been convicted of anything subsequent, you should be in a position where you can go to look into expunging the actual arrest record. But if you were arrested for something, the case was dismissed, maybe you went to trial, you were acquitted, and then later something else happened and you were arrested and you were convicted, you may have some difficulties in getting the acquittal expunged. You still may be able to get it. Primarily, you are allowed to expunge an arrest record in a situation where the case was dismissed or that tends to be the case. But there are certain circumstances that affect it.
And so for our listeners, listening here at Sidestreets and Intersections or IntellectualRadio.com, as well as iHeart, for those located here in the city of Chicago, can you tell the listeners and those that are viewing the show on this evening where exactly they could go or begin the process to have a case expunged?
Well, I mean, first off, I can handle expungements. You can go to a lawyer like myself and ask me to do it, help you out. You can go to the Dorothy Brown's website. It has forms on the website to start the expungement process. Now, there are a lot of different situations. You have expungement and you have sealing records. The difference is if you petition to seal, because you may try to expunge a record and it may not be expungible, but it could be sealed. The difference between expungement and sealing is when the records are expunged, they're supposed to be given to the individual or destroyed by the agency that has it. That's what's supposed to happen. When the record is sealed in the court system, they stay with that agency. It's just that only certain individuals can see it. So that like an employer, record is sealed. Most employers are not going to be able to see it. Law enforcement will be able to see it, but most employers will not be able to see it. When it's expunged, then it's supposed to be gone. It's going to be eradicated. Said either it's supposed to be given to the individual can destroy it, if they want to keep, or it's supposed to be destroyed or removed from the database by the agencies that have it. So obviously expungement is better than sealing, but there's only certain circumstances you can get records expunged.
Now, just for our listeners, I'm just kind of looking at your bio, and it says according to Thumbtack, which is somewhat like a tracking service for different services that a person would, if they're looking for, that you are rated in the top 10 of criminal defense attorneys in Chicago. So we want to say kudos to that. You always want somebody that can defend you and know what they're talking about. And it sounds to me that you're very passionate about what you do. And I think that makes a difference because I have seen a lot of attorneys, particularly in my line of work, just with their presence, they seem very stoic and very impersonable, and they could care less about what really happens to the individual. So we just want to say here at Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com that if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to phone 708-223-8953 as Attorney Bills will be in the building for about another 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, please, 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 please call. This is the time. Maybe you're going through something or you know somebody who's going through something. This is the time to call Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com, phone 708-223-8953. And so we're just going to go to a little break and we're going to end this series. And I'd love for you to come back. We're going to marinate on everything that you said and kind of take it in. And so we're going to go to a music break and then we will return with our last segment here at Side Streets and Intersections on IntellectualRadio.com, where if you're hungry, you must be Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Angela Champ, your host for Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. If you are feeling hungry, then it's obvious that you want to be fed. Here in the studio, this is our last segment. We have with us the noted attorney Bart Bills talking about African Americans and the judicial system and the things that we don't know, because there's a lot that we don't know. And so before we get into the last part, let me just thank a couple of people for their support. I want to thank Vicki Travis Woods, Madeline Ward Freeman, Mass Appeal. Also, I want to thank Milk and Honey and Media Exclusive for always showing me love and support. There are other shows that you can tune into here on intellectualradio.com. And so this is our last segment. I wish we had more time, but I know that there are things that you have to do and people you have to defend. So the subject matter, African Americans and the judicial system, what we don't know. And there's a lot that we don't know, but just to kind of wrap this up, can you give us a little bit about what we need to know?
Well, I'm going to tell you the number one thing we need to know that Americans in the judicial system here. There's a quote by a justice, Supreme Court Justice Oliver Holmes, and that quote is, "A judge is the sum of his experience." Now, of course, be more inclusive and more accurate today, especially since more and more of the bar is becoming more female than male. It should be the judge is the sum of her experience, or at least his or her experience. The reason I mention that is because as African Americans, you mentioned the voices. There are people who are considered leaders in our community, and we have these voices out there. And it's not to necessarily criticize them, but just to make people aware. There's a process in Cook County, as in most counties, of electing judges. And we need to be more mindful of that. And as far as we also need to be more mindful with making sure that we know what our interests are. Things like police accountability, more diverse bench, issues like that on those actual issues instead of being distracted by political titles, being distracted by things that really aren't necessarily our issues. Because the more diverse the bench is, the more responsive it is to the community. And it makes a big difference in who's on the bench and their perspective. It makes a huge difference in the actual justice system, because we could talk about burdens of proof, we could talk about res judicata, we could talk about double jeopardy, we could talk about all those fancy little terms. But when it comes down to it, there's usually one individual, 12 individuals passing judgment on a defendant or defendant.
Wow. Well, I just want to say that I am just so honored to have you here in the studio, and I would welcome you back in the very near future, because I think that we can't surmise and everything in an hour. I think that I would like to do a series of these shows just to make our people become more informed, because I think that oftentimes we take excerpts or we take the ideologies or knowledge of another person when it doesn't apply to us, and it doesn't particularly apply to our culture or our people. So I would love for you to come back, and I just want to say that I am honored again, because you are, and I have to say this again, I have to give you a kudos, rated the top 10 of criminal defense attorneys in Chicago. Now, for a lot of you all who don't understand what that means, that is really, really huge. That means that he has operated, not only has he acquired a certain level of prosecutions and or found people not to be guilty, but that means that he operates with a certain level of ethics and core values, which are very, very huge, which is a rarity, actually, in this day and age. So, once again, I am Angela Champ for Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. And if you're looking for an opportunity to host your own show, please do not hesitate to call 708-223-8953. And on that note, remember, please tune in on next Sunday from 7 to 8 p.m. as I host. And remember, we must all aspire to inspire before we expire. That's the show. See you next week. Amen.